We are forced to deal with all those struggles, right? And we come back home, the only friend that we find back home is a glass of wine to soothe that pain. No physical person to encourage you. Yes, some of us are lucky, we come with our kids, some of us come with our spouses. That is a little bit better. But then my kids will not be there for all my needs, for all my mental needs, and sometimes even your own spouse will not be there for all your mental needs, right? So we feel lonely in our struggles, and that's really the type of loneliness that we deal with as immigrants abroad, which is not the same as the type of loneliness that you will deal with when you are back home. Welcome back to Empowering Immigrants, a personal growth hub where we get to have ongoing conversations to stay mentally fit, physically fit, spiritually fit, and even financially fit. Now, continuing our series #Reflection Wednesdays, this week we get to reflect on how to deal with loneliness abroad. I had to niche it down to abroad because I totally believe that loneliness back home and abroad is not felt the same way. Back home, you have so many people to depend on, like to rely on, okay, when you are feeling lonely or so. There's so many activities, wedding festivals, cousin bride meet up over food and stuff like that. So but then here abroad it's different. Okay, dealing with loneliness is different. You don't have all the people to rely on, like physical people to rely on. So it's not the same. And oh my goodness, all the time I thought I feel so lonely because I am homesick. But actually loneliness is not only triggered by homesickness, like missing home so badly, but actually the struggles that we go through here, that we feel like we are not understood. There's nobody to share your struggles with. There's nobody to listen to your struggles, right? The struggles that we go through here in Europe or abroad, wherever you find yourself abroad, as long as you're not just at home, is daunting. The pressure is daunting. The struggles are daunting, and calling back home, there's really nobody that can actually understand or that can relate with your struggles. And that really causes you to stay, like to have that feeling of loneliness, right? And our struggles are different here. As immigrants, our struggles are different. There's the visa holders, right? Whether you have a working visa or a study visa, for you to be eligible to stay in Europe or the country that you are in it, right? Or even to renew that visa, you have to constantly work to keep that visa. You have to constantly work to be able to renew that visa. And that is a pressure and a struggle on its own. And it brings you fear as well, like, oh my goodness, my contract is finishing, or ABC, that this and this is happening. I have to get going. I have to do ABC and D. The pressure, right? It gives you so much stress. And the fear as well of losing that visa, or of not getting the next job, or getting, like, okay, your studies are finishing, I have to APC, like you have a certain time frame to get APC and D done, right? The pressure and the struggle as a visa holder, it ain't easy, right? And then there's the au pair, right? The au pair visa holders as well, who have to deal with sick old people, right? Who continuously throw insults at you, left, right, center. Yes, they mean no harm. They are indeed sick and old, right? But the harm is still made. The harm is still made. Mentally, you get harmed. Like, oh my goodness, the treatment is gruesome, right? And you deal with all those struggles. You still call back home to your friends and your family that you are used to, and it's unrelatable. You feel lonely in your struggles. Like, who can really understand you, right? Who can really listen to your struggles? How can you deal with this? And then there's also the asylum seeker. The asylum seeker who has to constantly deal with the fear of deportation, who has to deal with lawyers left, right, center, right? And also the stress that you get from the lack of opportunity because of the type of ausweis that you carry, like a duldung, for example, or the type of ID that you carry, right? All that pressure and stress, and having no one to actually sit and listen to your story and listen to your experience, keeps you in a space of loneliness, right? You feel lonely within your struggles, right? We are forced to deal with all those struggles, right? And we come back home. The only friend that we find back home is a glass of wine to soothe that pain. No physical person to encourage you. Yeah, some of us are lucky. We come with our kids. Some of us come with our spouses. That is a little bit better. But then my kids will not be there for all my needs, for all my mental needs. And sometimes even your own spouse will not be there for all your mental needs, right? So we feel lonely in our struggles. And that's really the type of loneliness that we deal with as immigrants abroad, which is not the same as the type of loneliness that you will deal with when you are back home. And that's why you find people abroad creating groups and events to meet up, like soccer tournaments, live music shows, get-together parties, to try and fix the loneliness that they feel, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes we don't need people to try and fix our loneliness. We need people to listen to our struggles. We need companionship. People that can relate to our struggles, just to sit together and create an environment where we can share our stories and struggles and listen to each other, right? Sit in a mat together. That really helps, right? No, I'm not saying we shouldn't try to fix our loneliness with going to soccer tournaments and stuff like that, and like having friends to just chill with, right? Have a party with a friend or so. Go ahead and do that. Yeah, we can do that. It actually does help. But for a while, right, we shouldn't constantly try and fix our loneliness with this kind of activities, right? It's okay, but we shouldn't constantly let that be a solution to solving our loneliness. It might just create too much of something is bad. Okay, it might just create other stuff like alcohol addictions and money management, because now all the time you are just in Gomorrah, yeah, spending, partying and stuff like that, right? So we should try to find other ways, solutions that we can actually deal and overcome our loneliness. Right. Before we continue, I would kindly like to ask you guys to please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell. This will really help me to create a community where we can all come together, connect together, and have these ongoing conversations, to be mentally fit, to be physically fit, to be financially fit, right? So please do subscribe, hit the notification bell. All right. And also, while at it, please do follow us on Empowering Immigrants DE on Instagram. All right, just to stay more connected, to know what's happening, what's next, what type of content can you expect. All right, now back in it. Okay, back to it. Let's continue. Okay, so I am an asylum seeker, right? And as an asylum seeker, a single mama of two abroad, I did go through the experience of feeling lonely, right? And not feeling understood when I call back home, right? Nobody to listen to my struggles and my experiences and my stories here that can actually relate to, right? But here is a few things, ways that we can actually tackle loneliness that I find very helpful in my life, that I have been actually doing step by step. Obviously it's a process, it's not a destination really. To be happy, to be full and wholesome, to live a wholesome life, I don't feel like it's a destination that we get to. It's a process that we go through step by step, right? And these things have really been helpful. So let's get into it. All right, so first and foremost, which is number one, we need to understand that our mental fitness is key to winning over our struggles, right? We need to normalize creating activities, type of activities that will set us up for a good mental fitness, like coming together for yoga classes, Yeah, creating events like yoga classes, brunches where we all meet up over brunch, or even dinner where we have built-in conversations, right? Or even online Zoom events where we come together, sit in the mat together and share our stories and experiences and learn from each other, hold each other accountable, and like walk the walk, right? We don't always have to involve our activities, our meetups with alcohol, parties and tournaments. We need to normalize creating events that are wholesome for our mental wellness, our physical wellness, right? There is a shift that happens within you when you just open up and share your experience, share your story, share the struggle that you are currently going through with someone that can actually relate to it. So we should normalize creating events, online events. It can be online or even physical meetups where we actually sit down and listen to each other, right? Listen to our struggles, right? Have wholesome events, as I said, yoga. Then after a yoga, nice stretch, body stretch, we go and sit down, have brunch and talk, share our experiences, which are different from person to person, right? Here in Europe, abroad, right? Having conversations and listening to each other is a game changer. Conversations are a game changer. We learn from conversations, right? We should speak it, we should live it, we should come together and sit in the mat together and cry together if we need to, okay? I totally think that conversations are key, and we should totally level up on our listening skills, because sometimes fixing our loneliness or so is not just trying to bring a solution to someone. When someone comes to you, a friend or so, or we are in this gathering, we're not trying to bring solutions to someone's problem, okay, the struggle that they are dealing with. Like, say for example, let's each contribute 10 euro to help who's dealing with what. Sometimes we just need someone to listen to our struggles. Sometimes we just need to listen to someone's struggle, right? Sometimes all that I will maybe need, or that what someone else will need, is just companionship. We just need companionship. Someone that we can hold a hand together and actually share our story. Someone to listen to. That can just come and sit in the mat with me, in this mat that I'm dealing with me. Cry together if we need to. And just listen to my story. I just need to say what I'm going through. Sometimes it's not fixing that we need. Right? And then secondly, Rome was not built in one day, guys. It wasn't. We need to understand that we are still at entry level in our lives. For as long as you're still beneath 5 years in Europe, like you haven't lived for more than 5 years in Europe, there's still a lot that you need to learn and unlearn. You are still at entry level in your life, in your career, right? The pressure that we put on ourselves because of fear of FOMO, fear of missing out, that is daunting. We look at others and compare ourselves with others. We try to hold on to this certain career or dream or whatever, and then it's so daunting sometimes, right? And we fear that, oh my goodness, I need people back home. When I took that plane, they expect me to leave. You know, they know that I made a big move, so they expect to see that big move. So we want to show that big move, right? And it brings pressure on our lives, right? We need to let go of that pressure. We need to let go of the fear of missing out, right? Like, oh my goodness, who and who is thriving in their career, is thriving since they came to Europe, right? So we work so hard, we put so much pressure because we fear the missing out, right? We don't give ourselves time in the process to just go through the process, right? To just go through the unlearning and learning. And understanding that we are still at entry level, right? We put unnecessary pressure on ourselves, and that leads to unhappiness. It leads to loneliness. It leads to depression and anxiety. Let's let go. Let's normalize just letting go and being in the process, being fully in the process, right? And thirdly, number 3, there's a magical thing that happens when you concentrate on your mental fitness, guys. Creating habits that will build you. Habits like getting enough sleep, 8 hours of sleep a day, working out, eating healthy meals, okay, journaling, meditation, all right, and breathing exercises. right? I promise you, the moment that you stop ignoring those habits and actually start tapping into them and creating those habits in your life, you will shift your whole life. You will have control over your life. You will show up in the world in a different way, in an impactful way. You will show up for yourself in a different way, right? Habits are our whole life, right? Our mind, our brain is a muscle, right? That needs to be trained like any other muscle, right? Like any other muscle in our body. So speaking good stuff to yourself, journaling and meditation, doing the things, doing the right thing. There's actually this saying or quote that is so direct and so funny at the same time. It says that doing all the right things is the right thing. Doing all the right things is the right thing. It's the right thing for you, okay? Not ignoring those habits and actually stepping into them is the right thing for your life. It's all that your life will need. Right? And so, yeah, obviously, if you are mentally fit, if you are physically fit, yeah, you are healthy, you are feeling wholesome and good, right? And you are even keeping yourself busy with these activities, how will you feel lonely? How will loneliness even ever kill you, right? Instead, loneliness will not kill you. Instead, you will become stronger, right? You're going to tap into your zone of genius, right? With all these beautiful habits in your life, right? With structure in your life, right? And then lastly, which is number 4, this is a hard pill to swallow. And that's why I had to put it last. Listen, there's a cost for everything. There's a cost you have to pay for everything. There's a cost for happiness. There's a cost for success, right? So sometimes loneliness is the cost that we just have to pay. What I'm saying is that it is sometimes necessary to live in loneliness. But know that it's for a season. You are being molded in that season. There's something that you just need to go through that season. And sometimes you're called to just do it alone. So with all the struggles that you had to deal with abroad, you come back home and you feel lonely. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes we just need to embrace those moments and actually use those moments to tap into our zone of genius, right? Use those moments to do internal work within us, right? By journaling our thoughts, by recreating and brainstorming our visions and our careers and stuff like that, right? Just even who you want to become. It doesn't have to be career-wise, even just who you actually want to become, the type of person that you want to become. Do you want to become more kinder, more gracious, more compassionate, right? Just you get time to actually tap into yourself, right? So sometimes embracing loneliness, it's okay. And that's one way that I tackled loneliness, right? By embracing it, by accepting my season and knowing my season and saying that, okay, I am called to be lonely in this season. I'm called to deal with this type of stress or with this type of struggle, and this is how I'm going to do it, right? This is how I'm going to take tiny little steps to become better, right? I'm going to take this season to actually create time to work for myself, to better my life, right? Embrace the loneliness. Use that time to do some internal work, okay, right? The Bible also says that there's a time for everything under the sky, a time to weep and a time to laugh, right? Etc. So sometimes you are called to stay in this season of loneliness, of dealing with all these struggles, right? So embrace those moments, accept them and embrace them. While embracing our loneliness, we should try not to stay stuck in it though. Okay, so do the external work and move on, honey, because depression will kill you. Loneliness might just lead to depression, right? And anxiety and so on. Talking about depression, I have a whole video. I'll put it somewhere on here. Here. You can just watch it, where we unpack and just peel the onion of how to overcome depression, the causes of it and how to overcome it, right? So that's it, guys. So from me to you, wishing you all a great week ahead and a splendid weekend. I love you all. See you in the next video. Mwah. Do not forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and go get it, honeys.